guys, this is Kevin here from Hanna Instruments, and today we're going to talk about our HI98308 Pure Water Tester and Pure Water applications for your aquarium. So many of us, in order to get a contaminant-free aquarium from the start, we like to use reverse osmosis deionized water as our source water. This is really popular for reef aquariums and saltwater aquariums, but several other, we see it in freshwater aquariums as well, but it's not as prominent. And when you're using an RODI filter or reverse osmosis deionized filter, it's really important to measure the effectiveness of those filters with something called a TDS meter, or total dissolved solids meter. And total dissolved solids are a measure of all the dissolved ionic particles in the water, but TDS isn't exactly TDS. What they're measuring is something called electrical conductivity, or EC. And electrical conductivity, again, is a measure of dissolved ionic particles in the water. So it necessarily won't pick up all the particles that are dissolved in the water. It's just going to be picking up particles with an electrical charge attached to it, or something with an ionic strength to it. So things like chloride and sodium, or things like phosphates and things like that. So it's not going to pick up everything, but it's going to pick up most things in the water. So it's generally considered a good way to measure water purity. Now, most people use TDS meters that are attached to their RODI filters, and they measure the TDS coming in and the TDS coming out to determine the effectiveness, but that's not always the best case. This is because that over time, the containers we use to store RODI water can become easily contaminated, and that's just because RODI water is a very pure water source. When there's no dissolved particles in it, it's very easy for that water to become contaminated by things in the air, or potential things that get in there over time, whether it be salt or additives or all sorts of stuff like that. So it's always a good idea to measure your source container over the time, just to make sure you don't have any leaching any contaminants in there. Another really important aspect of TDS meters and RODI filters is knowing what the range and the accuracy is of your meter. So many of the meters we use, or the TDS meters we use in the hobby, they're going to be having an accuracy statement of plus or minus 2% of the full scale. So let's say your meter reads up to about 1,000 parts per million, which is a pretty common rate in the hobby. That means you would have about plus or minus 20 ppm, or parts per million, total dissolved solids in your water, which is actually pretty high if you're trying to get close to zero as possible, which most of us are. Our Pure Water Tester, HI98308 Pure Water Tester, has an accuracy statement of plus or minus 2% of this full scale as well, but it's only designed to read from 0 to 99 microsiemens per centimeter. And that's an electrical conductivity measurement. That's pretty much a standard unit of measure for EC. And if we were going to convert that to TDS in parts per million, you'd use a conversion factor of 0.5. So it would roughly be about 50 ppm. So this is reading 0 to 50 ppm, which is a 2% of full scale. So you're getting a much, much narrower accuracy statement for your TDS value. So when you use a meter like this, you can be assured that the value on the screen is going to be very, very, very close to what the actual TDS is, versus having some of the other meters used in the hobby with a very kind of wide plus or minus full scale value based on the accuracy. Another really important aspect of TDS is calibration. So just like any instrumentation, analytical instrumentation, calibration can be an important process of them. So we, with any sort of conductivity meters or things like that, or pH meters specifically, we do recommend calibrating them on a frequent basis. And this Pure Water Tester can be used for a 1-point single calibration, and we would use an 84 microsiemens standard, which we have right here. We also do carry. So if we were going to calibrate the meter, the first thing we do is we just turn it on with the top switch up here. And then when we submerge the meter inside the calibration standard, we're just going to use our little calibration screwdriver. And you can see on the back of the meter, it says calibration right there with a little arrow pointing to this hole. And inside that hole, you're going to see a little screw. And when you insert this screwdriver inside the meter itself, you're just going to gently turn the meter until it reads the value of 84. So once it reads that value of 84, you know your meter is calibrated, and then you are ready to go start testing again. Thank you so much for watching today's video on pure water applications and RODI filters and their measurements in your aquarium. I want to thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future updates.